Good morning, good evening. Hi Ajit, hi Ashwati. Welcome back, Ajit. So good to see all of you, and I hope that you had a really good day so far, or you're about to have an amazing, amazing day. Hey Dara, hi Pranam Pepe. So happy to see you. So, in the last session, I talked about how over time in our society we have the habit of equating being productive with being good people, where we undervalue anything that isn't considered work. And we equate resting or relaxing or anything that isn't, let's say, creating revenue, which is non productive behavior, with wasting time, or as many of us tend to call it, laziness, which means we're always trying to do something. Hey, Shine and Palak. I'm sure we all know people who go for holidays and they plan literally every moment. They want to see everything, they want to do everything, they want to get the biggest bang for their buck. And, of course, each to their own, to each their own. Every person's life is so different. And so, if that's what gives you real happiness, if that's what gives you enjoyment, definitely do it. But overall, a lot of us have trouble spending unplanned days off restfully. There's this kind of nagging guilt that is there in the back of our minds. I should do this, I ought to do this, I'm wasting time. I actually don't feel like doing anything, but maybe I'll waste some time, but then I'm feeling guilty about wasting time. And it comes back to the need to do something, even when we are wanting to do nothing, to have blankness, to have space in our schedule. And so, as you know, I researched about this and I learned about a professor at Israel's Ben Gurion University called Michael Bar Eli, who studied the benefits of doing nothing in the context of soccer games. I don't know how many of you play soccer, and I know in some parts of the world we call it football, very different from American football. But Michael Barelli says that there is a deep seated need to do something in a lot of different sports. And he focused his research on the behavior of goalkeepers during that final important penalty kick in soccer. And over time, his observations turned into a long term research project on the concept of action bias. So, what would happen, for instance, if a goalkeeper stood completely still during the penalty kick rather than diving to the left or the right to try to deflect the ball? Now, Michael Barilai watched hours and hours of footage of soccer rehearsals, practices, practice sessions, as well as actual soccer games. And he came up with a fascinating conclusion. Doing nothing, in many cases, in soccer, could have saved the day. Simply put, the goalkeepers usually jump too much. They do too much. About 1/3 of the soccer balls that are shot during a penalty kick actually go towards the center of the goal. And a large majority of goalies are standing in the center already. So there's not any real need to jump or dive or do anything to preempt this goal, this penalty kick, but they still do because they feel that standing in one place might not be enough. And so he says there's a gap between where the balls are shot and the behavior of the goalkeepers. And that, he said, is the personification of the action bias. And if we look around us, we'll find applications of this phenomenon virtually everywhere. According to science, when you're stuck in traffic, aggressively switching lanes actually doesn't get you any faster to where you're going rather than just patiently sitting in a single lane most of the time, right? And at the same time, when people do that, they're weaving in and out of traffic, it actually slows traffic down as a whole. Most of the time, we tend to think that people who are doing the most stuff are creating the most value. And oftentimes, choosing to wait, think things through, and take targeted action might yield greater result. greater value. But here's the problem. Sometimes value develops on its own, and we reap it by taking very little action, by kind of getting out of the way. And sometimes action can actually get in the way of reaping the full value of something. And in Chinese society, they have a name for it. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's called Wu Wei. It's called non-doing. The idea is that you can harness the power and momentum of the natural cycles and flow of things to gain the value you're looking for. To the vast majority of people who are steeped in the action bias, this looks like nothing is being done to create value, but that is far from the truth. Thinking, observing, exploring, or simply waiting are also work. Just because no movement or activity is observed doesn't mean that nothing important is taking place. We have been trained by society to be tapped into the action bias. We perceive slowness, waiting, and restraint as not contributing to value, but we are wrong about that. That's how the action bias hurts us. And it's no wonder we keep falling prey to the action bias, because overcoming it does take patience. It requires us to simply sit with any current situation and hold tight. And I think we feel we're not in control. There's another interesting rethink on productivity. I mentioned Stephen Poole in my last session, who is a British cultural critic, and he asked, what if we use the word productivity in a different way? For instance, when your friend asks you, what did you do today? What if we began replying, I had a really productive day because I went for a walk in the park in the morning, then I sat down with a nice cup of coffee and I daydreamed a bit, and then, I read the newspaper, and later I met my friend for lunch, and it was extremely productive. I got a lot done. Imagine if we were to actually say that. I don't know. We should try. Let me know. Try it as a social experiment for yourself and keep me informed. Most of the time, even if I enjoyed myself, I would say now with practice, I've become a little bit better. But most of the time, if I did those kind of things, I would say, I didn't do anything, but I enjoyed myself. So that this word "but" actually negates everything that happened or that was said just before it. It's good to do those things. It's good to have a call with a friend and talk about random stuff. It's good to be reflecting. It's good to sleep. You're getting that done in case getting something done is important to you. And honestly, even if you didn't get something done, so what? Right? So let's be clear, of course. There is a fine difference, right, between making excuses when you're simply afraid of doing something, whereas, taking action too quickly or responding too quickly to an email without taking the time to think about your real feelings, or responding too quickly to an email from your office where maybe if you took even a half hour to consult a few other people, there might be a different outcome. We also, many times, especially in meetings, we want to be seen as someone who makes decisions quickly, right? And a lot of companies do value risk taking. And there is a difference to calculated risk versus just knee-jerk reactions. You want to say something because you want to be seen as saying it first, right? So there's that fine balance. And of course, this changes person to person. Only you know your reality. And sometimes we're so afraid of being judged or making mistakes, and it's easy for us to make excuses or get sick or manifest obstacles, or even talk about doing a lot of research instead of taking action. So whether you are impaired by fear to act, or whether you'd always rather act than allow things to unfold, only you can know which it is for you. And Ashwati said this before the session started, that sometimes it's better to think and do what is right for you. And this is why I love using the idea of the goalkeeper in the soccer game. The goalkeeper is definitely paying attention. It's just whether or not jumping and diving is actually contributing value in that situation, or whether being very attentive, observing what's going to happen, think, and then take a move is better. So today, what'll it be for you? In every situation, it could be something different, but I do like remembering the action bias, and it kind of allows me to give myself space to reflect before giving an answer to someone, or before saying no or saying yes. So, with that in mind, let's breathe. And you may remember that last session I used a beautiful saying by Thich Nhat Hanh, where he says, smile, breathe, and go slowly. And today my version is smile, breathe, and then proceed. Because I believe only you can determine what is best for you in any given moment. Do ensure that you are deciding whenever it is that you decide to take action. Not your family, not your partner, not your children or your parents or your boss or society. Just you. Let's trust that we know for ourselves, because we've taken the time to think and observe, reflect on what's important for us, and then took action. So let's breathe just 3 times, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, knowing that to do or not to do is really up to us. And one last time, inhaling, remembering that we always have choices. All right, beautiful people. I'm always so happy to see you and to spend this time with you and to read and respond to your comments. Agni said, I think the fear of not doing enough comes more from watching other people do a lot or more than you think you should be doing too. Yeah, comparison. And at the same time, if you are aware of what your journey is, then you can decide, is it enough? Should I be doing more? Should I be exercising more? Should I be eating less, eating more? Whatever it is, should I be resting more for my body, for my sanity? What is it for you? Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful rest of your week. And I have some exciting news. I'm going to premiere a song tomorrow, which is a very, very old throwback of a throwback of a throwback. So it's coming out tomorrow. I'm going to actually release it on YouTube, premiering it at our usual Keeping It Light time. So it'll be 6:15 in India and 8:45 in the US, in the Eastern Coast. It's going to be very early for West Coast. But it'll stay online, so if you miss the premiere, I hope you'll check it out. Because for once, I decided to choose to put stuff out. Okay, beautifuls. Bye. Mwah. See you so soon.